Hello and welcome everyone to the Collegiate Chess League's Week 3. We have the Spring 2026 season. This is our first lower division match that we were watching, and we have games underway. This is between Armenia and Rice University. Let's check out these games. All right, so as we see here, we've got Aram representing Armenia, and he's playing up against Savitir. That is Jayachandra Valanki from Rice. And I see a couple other games going on. I'm going to check in with National Master here, Nicholas De La Colina. This is the top board and team captain from Rice University. Also, funnily enough, if any of you were watching our Instagram reel that we put out, you'll know that Rice University is one of the rivals of St. Louis University's B team. Their captain, Matthew Pikus. So we had a couple player interviews beforehand. And yeah, this Rice team, I mean, you can't make rivals like SLU easily unless you're a good team. So clearly, this Rice team, they've got some competitors. But Armenia, they've been competing for a while. They're a strong team as well. So this is the board 4 from Armenia. HB, that stands for Hamlet Brution. Yeah, after c6, I just noticed right away d6 was a hole in the position. So queen just dives right in, makes a lot of sense. Pressure on the knight that was pinned to the queen. So we see black questioning the bishop immediately. h6, g5, bishop gets back to g3, knight now moving to h5. This could be a risky move. A lot of times this knight can be hanging. We have certain discovery attacks. And in this case, it doesn't quite work because the knight is just going to take this bishop, or perhaps it's going for f4. This is a very strong square for black, protected by both pawns. But that being said, white's probably thinking about taking this pawn. We have 3 attackers and only 2 defenders. So 3.5 minutes here for Hamlet. We'll see what Hamlet ends up deciding. And we do have another game here. The strongest player in this match is the top board from Armenia, Sargis. Sargis Sargisian. FIDE Master at $29.99. That's a discount 3K right there. Putting the king in the corner here is their opponent, Grande. Alexander Elliott, board 4 from Rice. It looks like Sargis is up a pawn currently and trying to hold on to that, but also just trying to trade down here, offering a bishop trade. White does have the bishop pair, but it's going to be hard to keep this light square bishop on the board. So we do see a capture on d4. White's getting that pawn back, equalizing, and now we have a bishop versus a knight imbalance here, and it looks like this knight might come to f5. This is going to be a light square outpost attacking the dark square bishop. So that's one important thing to note about these sort of imbalances. We see the bishop moving, attacking the knight. The knight steps to that f5 square, and there's this sort of relationship between the bishop and the knight where they're sort of boxing each other out. And this bishop is preventing black from castling currently, but I suspect this bishop's going to get a question when black plays b6. So right now, white potentially considering perhaps g4, just kicking the knight out. In fact, that is the best move. It's a scary move to make when your king is opposite this queen here. We do have a pawn push discovery, and this pawn could create a square for the knight. But that being said, there's no tricks or anything there. G4 and D4 would not be a great discovery here. All right, but yeah, black doubling now on the C file. Now G4, it's still the best move, but it's not as good. After this check, we're gonna have to move the king. We can't block on F3 anymore because our bishop is blocking our rook. So we see white, they're just not committing to this G4 idea. The computer might like it, but it is inherently risky. Your king is already in the corner. You've already pushed the F pawn. So yeah, white says, I'm not going to do it for now. Pawns can't go backwards, so I'm not going to take that risk. I'm going to play queen a6 and attack the a pawn. Black lifts their rook off that back rank, making sure that all the pawns are defended. And black soon will be castling next. So quite the time advantage that Sargas is building on here. We see a4 trying to keep things on that queen side. But let's take a look at some of the other games. I think we've looked at most, if not all, except for this one. We've got Edward up against Rohith. This is Venkata from Rice. And white's got themselves a pretty nice advantage here with this move, knight takes e4, if white's able to pull this off. So yeah, pawn takes here, and now here, black needed to trade rooks on d1, but they did not do that. They brought the knight back, and this attacks the b pawn, but apparently we just take on e4 and we're threatening to trade knights here, and this rook is hit twice, only defended by the pawn. But black is saying, I'm going to take this pawn with an attack on your queen and supporting the d3 square. So it's a little complicated here, but if Edward can find knight takes e4, then they're going to be in a big advantage. But no, it was missed. We see bishop to a3 instead, defending this pawn. And again, now black has an opportunity to trade rooks. Hey, Jose, how's it going? All right, we see the move c5, a capture. This helps open up the bishop as well. Yeah, I'm surprised this tension has remained so long. Rohith is under a minute, so that's probably not going to be good for their time scramble. Speaking of being under a minute and in a time scramble, Nicholas here, 3 minutes to 30 seconds. This is a huge advantage for black. We've got that bishop versus knight imbalance still, and we've got all these pawns up against one pawn for white, for Hamlet on the queen side. So this is looking like a win for Nicholas. Let's check back in with Nick Sarga. I mean, this is even worse. This is less than 30 seconds to over 4.5 minutes. It's not often you find live shorts in real time. Yeah, I apologize if the camera's not working on this short, but you can head on over to Twitch and hang out there if you want. Anyways, yeah, Sargus up on the clock by a lot and up a pawn, creating some separation here between the rook and the pawn. And this pawn wants to just promote. So white may be a little desperate, trying something over here. We see knight takes, and the king steps aside. If rook takes pawn there was going to be a knight fork, so that was a really nice maneuver there. And we see the knight just simply coming back. So bishop at least gets up, but ooh, this is a really pretty mate there. Nice coordination between the rook, pawn, and knight. So Sargus gets the first point, and looks like Nicholas is trailing and gets their first point. So the match is tied back up. Rohith is less than 5 seconds here. So the top two boards getting the job done for both of their teams. 1 point each, tied up here. But can Edward give Armenia the lead here in round 1? Opponent less than 10 seconds from Rice University, trying to stay alive here. Rohith is the higher rated player, 2,500. So can they live off of the 2-second increment? It's going to be tough. But they're certainly going to try. I mean, otherwise, material is pretty even. There's some pressure on this knight. I could expect perhaps queen d4 here. No, going here, attacking the rook, so the knight was potentially hanging. Excuse me. Okay, queen goes to c7, defending the rook. Now the knight moves. Rook now hits the queen. Queen moves to c4. Queen, some pressure and coordination. Knight hops in, hitting the queen. Queen was expecting that and moves. So Rohith's trying to get that time back. Edward now under a minute. And we do have one result. We've got Aram and Savitir ending with a draw. So they traded down to just their bare kings. So Aram with a half point, and Savitir, that's Jayachandra, with half a point. So we've got one game remaining in this first round between these two teams. And it's coming down to a time scramble, less than 30 seconds. This could be a big problem, but no, the queen comes back just one square to defend everything. Rooks are staring at each other. The knight gets hit, so the knight hits the bishop. Bishop steps back, boxing out the knight. Rook here, and this is a huge blunder with the move. Rook a5 was just crushing, apparently, but that was missed. Rohith, less than 10 seconds, doesn't have time to figure that out. Okay, queen and rook doubled up on the back rank. King trying to make some space. There's space for one check, but then once the king gets to g7, all the checks are going to be out. So white instead goes for the 7th rank, pinning the bishop to the queen. Queen steps aside. Rook comes all the way home. Didn't want any back rank checks of their own. And now black might be circling around these light square weaknesses. Queen trade. Rook steps up. Bishop comes back. Helps block the 7th ever so slightly. White creating some space for their king. Pushing some king side pawns. Black king comes all the way back. Rook gives one check, but the king comes in to e7. Yeah, both players pretty much even on the clock now. Bishop pinning that, getting the trade. It's knight and rook and a bunch of pawns. It's dead even. But black maybe has some slightly better king placement, but that's going to yield some checks. White forcing the king back, but now forcing the king forward. No, has to go back again. But where to? Behind the pawns? Some shelter. Black can create some mating nets with this knight, pawn, and rook. We saw a knight, pawn, and rook mate from one of the other games. So we'll see. Oh my goodness, that's a massive fork. Wow. And resigns. That was very close. Black stepped right into that. Rook check, king back, king steps up, rook pressure on the pawn, king back just kind of defending, but also steps right into this fork. And that's going to end the game there with Armenia taking a 1-point lead. What's up, Dr. Akula? How are you? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Rice losing that even game. It's going to cost them. Happy Saturday to you as well. Okay, so round 1 in the books, waiting for round 2 to begin. All right, and we have round 2 now underway. So Sargas, after that last game, they won, and they won 1 elo. So from 29.99, they're officially up to 3,000 blitz. Nice little milestone there. They've probably been there before, if I had to guess. What's Nicholas up to? Good question from Jose. Nicholas now is up against Edward. Smart to me. Thanks for the follow. Welcome. So yeah, this game just started. This was a Scandi. Queen going back home from Edward. So Rice, they're down by 1. They're looking at their top board, Nicholas here, their captain, as a leader to bring them back. And he's done good after 1 round. But now he's up against Edward, who won in the first round as well. So both these players looking to stay hot in round 2, hoping to help their team build onto their points total. So both these players have won, but only one of them can win after round 2. All right, very interesting moves here. Bishop takes b7 is looking awfully tempting to me, at least, and Nicholas agrees. Snags that pawn with a tempo on the rook. Hey, Physic, good to see ya. Welcome in. Honestly, knight to c6 was the big threat. That would have trapped the queen. So we see knight takes first. Here, probably knight takes, if I had to guess. Because if king takes, then you're in trouble. You can't castle anymore. And also, you're allowing the rook to check you. So we do see knight takes. Rook hits the bishop, and we see bishop stepping aside with the check. That knight was attacked by the pawn, so we see the knight saving itself, but has to step into a pen. And man, if white could queenside castle right now, they would absolutely love to. But there are a couple pieces in the way preventing that from happening. Any rook to the d file would help us put some pressure on the pen piece, and that would be winning material. But luckily for black, white isn't developed enough to be able to do that, and so they can afford this move, which is very important. It's saving a piece and saving the game. That being said, white still is looking pretty good. This pin is very annoying. Black instead, they just move the king. They said, I don't need a castle. Queens are off the board, and I hate being pinned, so I'm going to get unpinned. And now this knight is free to potentially take this pawn. So we might play f4 here. In fact, this is the best move. It's the most natural looking move for sure. Even though this pawn is hanging and that pawn is hanging, I didn't even look at that one, but this rook now is under question. But the computer did not like that move because it liked taking on e5, saying, go ahead, take the rook. I'm going to take this. And lo and behold, that bishop would have been trapped. Wow, that would have been certainly a sequence to see. But black missed it. White clearly missed it. And now we can't play f4 anymore because the rook has decided to come to b4. And our bishops are a little loose right now. It was important that they're sort of protecting each other. They're taking up a ton of this real estate on the b file. But that being said, the rook still can't attack this bishop. It can attack this bishop, but then it's going to get counterattacked. This bishop also can always bail out and take this knight if needed. So there's some major questions here for this rook. Where are you going to live? Rook goes to c4. Now, like I had mentioned, the bishop is hit, so we see that trade, and now maybe this knight develops with a tempo. And then this rook is going to have to find a new home yet again. That being said, the bishop can now be attacked, so we see the bishop stepping back first. I liked this knight e3 idea, and it also even opened up for queenside castles with tempo. That being said, rook here would be a fork if we had castled, so we might be losing the a-pawn. The bishop has to be saved. This bishop is really annoying, so it's really a strong deterrent against queenside castles. And black, knowing that they've foregone castling, they're trying to open up for this rook on the h-file. We see h5 going after these kingside pawns. I'm still expecting knight e3 is just pretty logical from my perspective. But interestingly, computer is not even thinking about it. So it likes g5, it likes rook g1. So perhaps neither side will castle in this game. All right. What's up, Geezer? What's up, Tommy? Hello, Bala. We are live. Hi, Shadow. Yeah, Nicholas from Rice University representing the Peruvian flag. Shout out to Peru. But yeah, we've got some other games going on, so let me dive right into some of the other ones. We've got Aram. Aram is the team captain for Armenia. Low connection here. And also low eval bar. So I hope that's not related. But that being said, they are way up on the clock. And only down. Oh, there comes the internet back for Aram. So that's good. Anyways, they're playing up against Grande. Alexander Elliott, the board 4 from Rice. Aram is the board 2 for Armenia. And here we see a mistake from black. That brings the eval bar back to even Steven. So what was missed here in this situation? It looks like black had a really good position, especially after here. We had knight c3 was missed, but what's crazy is that perhaps the rook is hanging, but the problem is with white is that you're forced into this rook check. So you'd be losing in exchange here. Even the move bishop e6 apparently is good, which is what they played. Not as good here. And here, again, the move knight c3 is an absolute must in this situation. Instead, we see knight takes on e3, allowing for the rook to trade. So Grande, Alexander Elliott, messing up ever so slightly here. That's going to cost them a huge advantage. And they're down on time as well on the clock. Okay, very interesting move here, g3. The computer was saying g4 was a move, and the idea is this: if the bishop takes on the h-file, we have rook h1, and our rook becomes very active. So that was an opportunity missed for white to maybe bait black into snagging a poison pawn, if you will. Okay, we have another result. This game went by way too fast. These players have so much time left on their clock. Sargis with the white pieces. They gained 1 elo from the first game. And here, black's knight perhaps getting a little too greedy. Queen b3 was going to be good. But instead, we see here Ooh, knight takes c4 was missed, apparently, because the rook was going to be hanging. So the rook moves. Knight takes nonetheless. White just gives up the exchange there. Rook takes here. Queen's diving in with check. King d1 was best, apparently. Yeah, this is a crazy game from Sargas. Knight check. Rook gives itself up. Queen check forces the queens off the board. And then, oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, here, rook takes e3, winning. The only winning move for black. Just getting that bishop off the board, putting the king in check, and instead, black's running with their pawns and totally disregards their king safety, allowing for f7 check, and a new queen has entered the villa. So, all right, Sargas, a rocky game there for sure, but 2 for 2 on the board for Team Armenia. That was a crazy game. Okay, 8 seconds for Nicholas. This would be huge for Armenia if Edward can take down the top board team leader from Rice University. Black's looking great with the bishop pair. White has a ton of pawns, and that is the imbalance that we're going for here. It's 3 pawns for 1 bishop. So black is looking to trade off here. Also, the time imbalance is extremely significant. So we see 1 pair of pawns are traded off. King is over here, maybe guarding some squares. This pawn was important as well. The knight was technically pinned, but we would love to play maybe knight to e3, trying to get rid of this bishop, this blockade of our pawns. So knight e3 is an idea. What else could we be going for? Perhaps there's a5, b4 ideas. Here, less than 5 seconds. It's not easy to play. A5 is played. This is going to potentially allow our knight to hop in. But also maybe our pawns will push. One downside of b4 is that our knight's no longer defended. So if we play the move b4, rook here, and say goodbye to the knight. Rook comes to e5. Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe they were aware of it, but black just pounces on it. And bishop and rook, they're in time to guard the pawn from promoting. So Edward gets the job done against Rice's top board. Here we've got another time scramble, less than 10 seconds for Hamlet and Rohith with the white pieces completely winning. Knight check, queen check. Looks good to me, but... And a full minute, too. Bishop check. That's going to separate the queen from the rook. And here we actually have mate in 1 with knight takes h7. Beautiful. Okay, so Edward is a perfect 2 for 2, right? Taking down Nicholas. And now Rohith answers for Rice University. And we have one last game here in round 2. Under a minute is Alexander, but looks like a pretty dead even opposite color bishops in game. So this is going to be a draw against Aram, which is good for Rice. They're board 4, getting on the board, keeping things relatively close still. But that being said, Armenia, they are building onto their lead. They were up by 1, and now they're up by 2. So similar result between rounds 2 and 1. Rice University, they're going to have to be a second half team if they're going to come back here in this match. What's up, Lance? Good to see you. Sorry, Sergey. I guess it's English only chat. Yeah, Tommy. I don't know if I'm AI or human anymore either, to be honest. All right, that was game aborted here. Perhaps the wrong opponent We've got a Ukrainian trying to play. Anyways, waiting for round 3 to begin. Also, if anyone is curious if there's another match after this, we'll be watching my alma mater compete, UCLA A team in Division 2 up against UNC Chapel Hill. No, not USC, UNC. Okay. Sergey, I saw you got timed out by the bot. I'm gonna see if I can help you out here. I don't know if hold on. Yes, go Bruins indeed. Okay. Round 3 now underway. Can Rice University bring it back, or are they already out of the match? It's only 2 points. They could bring it back right here, right now, round 3. This could be big for them. But Armenia has been looking good. Edward is 2 for 2. So is Sargis. Sargis had a very shaky round 2. And we saw Rohith win in the last round. So can anybody take down Sargis? It seems possible. It seems like he's beatable. Definitely should have lost or could have lost the previous game, but they were able to get the job done. So yeah, speedy moves here. You can tell Sargis gaining time on the clock, using that increment. Rohith, with the white pieces, but maybe not as comfortable with the opening compared to the FIDE Master, top board from Armenia. Love this knight development here, just replenishing the knight, guarding these central light squares. And really, when you have this structure of pawns here, white is stranded with what's called the IQP, the isolated queen pawn. And whichever side controls the square in front of that pawn is usually going to be for choice. And you can see black, they've just completely set up with this knight. Everything is guarding d5. And this last move from black, b6, this is opening up for the light squared bishop to get not only on the main diagonal, controlling a large part of real estate on this board, just pointing directly at white's king, it's also controlling this d5 square. And that's no coincidence. This is a very important square to control because of this isolated queen's pawn. So this pawn, it's definitely a liability. It's going to be a target. It's a weakness. And you can see white is just not comfortable. Look at the time management here. Over 5 minutes to 3.5. And white, they put the knight here on e5. Now, this is not blundering that pawn. It's getting out of the way of this bishop. And if queen takes, then there's going to be this nice discovery. Bishop takes with check, revealing the queen. So that pawn is still protected tactically. Bishop moves regardless, definitely trying to see if they can get some sort of control over d5. We see the rook coming over to the d file. Black now connecting their rooks, clearing the path for their second rook to enter the game. And that's exactly what we see here. So Rooks are completely symmetrical on both sides. And yeah, this pawn, it is currently on a dark square. So the bishop can never attack it, but it's still influencing it by controlling that square that it's on. This knight, 2 diagonal squares away from the pawn as well, never really thinking about attacking it. But that being said, if you can't push this pawn, you're going to have to work around the pawn. So the pawns, they like to stick together as a team. This pawn, he's got no buddies. He's isolated. So that's why all of white's pieces really have to work around it, coordinate with it, and make sure it's protected. So we see black, they shift the focus, doubling the rooks on the c file. We see 1 pair of rooks traded. This bishop's still with that discovery trick. White's made a flight square. We might see this bishop tuck back, but you know, for now the pawn is sufficiently defended. Okay, but here though, things might change a little bit, because here white's offering a rook trade. If takes, maybe then this pawn will fall. The computer's not even thinking about it. Instead, we see queen stepping up. This is the queen saying, hey, I don't care about the rook. I only care about checkmate. So bishop steps back to defend. But yeah, I guess what white wants is to get the queen to c7, attacking the bishop, but also attacking f7. This knight is a really well-placed knight, and the queen also would defend the knight from there too. So queen c7 was a strong threat if black decided to trade rooks and get a little pawn greedy and grabbing a pawn. So, okay. We see bishop to c4. This is helping block the queen's control of the c file. This bishop defended by the knight, now defended by the bishop. Black was hoping for potentially a trade, trying to upgrade this knight. When this knight moves, this knight can get kicked by the f-pawn. So we see another attack here on the light squares. Now we might see this bishop get traded. Otherwise, we're going to have to push one of these pawns. And I mean, just look at the time management. Sargis maybe not creating a significant advantage on the board, but certainly creating a huge time disparity on the clock. And that's going to be converted into time scrambles, blunders, potentially mistakes, and that can certainly add up and build for Sargis. So the clock is a weapon, if I can quote John Bartholomew. At least I've heard him say that in some of his thumbnails. Speaking of, Sargis is not the only Armenian player to be using the clock as a weapon. Look at this time difference here. We've got Edward, who's been just crushing it so far in this match, up against Alexander, who was able to get a draw against Aram in that previous round, but hasn't gotten a win yet. And they might be waiting until round 4 before they get an opportunity, because right now Edward is firmly in the driver's seat, definitely ahead on the time. That much is quite obvious, but this position is actually wild. So we have a ready opening and a declined gambit. Queen stepping back. Black is looking pretty good, but white is up a pawn. So we have this crazy sequence. Now white is up two pawns and looks like a strong center, but look at this king. King e2. If you go here, you're getting forked. So, and okay, this was also a crazy sequence. So apparently the move here, rook a d8. Rook on that d, like gambiting the whole piece. Instead, we see b5. Thanks for the piece. That's 5 points of material for Edward. Bishop gets hit, traded here, trying to get the queens off. Black, of course, declines. we see this king is trying to get hunted in the middle of the board. There's this move, queen takes c4 now from white, actually. And black has completely misplayed it, but that's what happens when you have less than 20 seconds on the clock. So knight takes, king steps aside, you're going to recapture with a check. So this completely did not play out for Alexander. Unfortunately for them, knight here is just a fork. Okay, rook check. King steps up, surely somewhere. This is still a fork, by the way, and a discovery too. So you're probably going to have to take this bishop. 10 seconds. I mean, this is game over. You can take the rook, you can take the bishop, but yes, taking the rook is going to be best. Now you save your rook, looking for a trade, looking for the back rank. 6 seconds, 5 seconds, and resigns. So Edward, he's been unstoppable so far. A perfect 3 for 3, and that's going to bring Armenia ever so closer to a winning score. You need 8.5 points to win. Okay. What's going on in this game? Hamlet with the white pieces up 4 points of material, but down to their last 11 seconds. Trying to open up on the light squares. Black declines, but that's going to give white a passed pawn. But only 5 seconds to play. Bishop comes back, opposite, rerouting. This rook now maybe could take the pawn, but we don't want to risk these discoveries. So we see the queen boxing out the bishop on this diagonal with the pawn push. Oh, and a big blunder. I thought this was... Oh, that's just a Botez gambit. Oh, okay. This is what happens when you have no time. It's so sad. That is unfortunately not good. Pawn takes. Your king is exposed. That's a check. That's a check. Luckily, your knight's here, but the queen wants to say hello anyways. Rook f1, probably. Ooh. What even is the move here? Oh, the rook doesn't control the d-file yet, but now it does. And that goes the game. So Hamlet, unfortunately, not playing fast enough. But that's good news for Rice because they needed that. Rohith and Sargith drew. So Sargith not able to keep their win streak. It gets capped at 2 games, but they're still unbeaten. So 2.5 points. Rohith from Rice able to hold Sargis to a draw. That being said, Saviter gets to 1.5. Is this a comeback for Rice? They're still down by 2. How's this going for Rice? This is looking good for White. Let's look at what's happened so far in this game. So White just gets this annoying pawn on e5. Black gets a connected pass pawn, but they walk into this skewer here. Pawn takes, opening up this bishop and queen battery. That's going to be nice. And White just says, let me trade down here. Okay, Knight has their pick, but White just uses that open c-file. They grab that a pawn, and that's 2 connected pass pawns on the outside. That's a huge advantage. And we see the rook coordinating quite well. Look at this move. Bishop here baiting the knight to take. Pawn takes, and that pawn's unstoppable. As crazy as that is. So White wisely does not take the bishop. Instead, just pushes their own pawns. So pawn to a6. That bishop's looking at it right now and decides now's the time. Because otherwise, I'm just in trouble. Rook takes the knight instead. And we're threatening the pawn. We're threatening any knight move with a discovery, and we see resignation. So Nicholas keeping the match close. Rice, they did a good job there, clawing their way back ever so slowly, but they're back within 1. Very doable, within reach for sure. 6.5 Armenia, 5.5 Rice. All right, take care, Geezer. Thanks for being here. Hope you have a great weekend. What's up, Mr. Burns? Welcome in. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's a close match. We're waiting for these scores to be recorded so they can move on to round 4, the potential last round of this match. Sir, can we play one game? Sorry, I'm commentating right now. But thanks for asking. Can you promote your free book in the chat, please? It expires on Monday. Reddit and Facebook shadow banned me. Why did they shadow ban you? That doesn't sound good. Are you trying to get banned on Twitch as well? Sounds like your promotion's not going so well, unfortunately. What's up, Bala? Good to see you. Also, hello to Pizza Racer. I don't know if I said hi earlier, but I appreciate your compliment. All right. The scores are set because of politics. Well, is your book even about chess? What's your book about? We're about to watch round 4 of this match start. If they're tied 8-8, we'll go to overtime. Overtime would be 3 plus 2 instead of 5 plus 2. And if it's still tied, then they play 1 plus 2. All right, here's the top board matchup we've all been waiting for. We've got Nicholas, captain from Rice, 2,800 versus Sargas, top board from Armenia, 2,994. They got all the way up to 3,001. That draw set them back 7 elo. And we have a Sicilian, Sargas, with the white pieces. Armenia, they're 2 points away. If they can split this round 2-2, they will hold on to their 1-point lead. That will be enough for them to win. But Rice University, they've been trailing this entire match. But if they can bring it back, they can come to overtime. So that's what they're going for right now. If they win by a score of 3-1, they can outright win the match here in this 4th round. Hey, Fisher. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. Sorry, Beyond Schizo. I think we'll probably decline the marketing. I guess. I don't know. But I appreciate you asking. Okay, this is an interesting position. This knight maybe flew a little too close to the sun here. Probably needed to go backwards. Instead goes forwards, attacking the rook. But after rook a7, where's your knight going to go? Look at these pawns. All backwards moves for the knight are covered. And after this move, b5, Sargas understanding, creating a counter threat here. But it can only last so long. This knight is going to have to maybe give itself up for 2 pawns. So stay tuned here. Apparently the best move here is knight g4, which is kind of crazy, right? I mean, I think it's kind of crazy that that's the top move. Anyways, yeah, if the knight goes here, then the knight trades off, right? Knight can't go back here, here, or here. So if you look forward, again, this knight can trade off. Here, here, and here are all covered. So Sargas, some tricks up their sleeves, keeping this in their back pocket. So yeah, they had this ready. Bishop here just covering this knight squares, just being cognizant of what all your pieces control is so important. Black did not play the knight, so we just see a trade, and Nicholas is up a pawn here, but kingside structure slightly damaged and currently under threat. King steps up, covering this pawn. And with the queens off the board, the weakened structure is not so bad for that king. In fact, the king is feeling quite brave now, stepping up into the center. We might see f5 at some point. I feel like that makes a lot of sense to me. Just kicking away the knight and maybe freeing up that square for your king. White plays a3, covering b4 ever so slightly. This rook is opposite the king. And yeah, Sargas just chilling up on the clock. Knight steps back, maybe looking at f5, opening up for the rook. And yeah, honestly, black is a little bit behind in this development. This bishop kind of babysitting the d pawn, and this rook and knight combo just boxing out the d pawn. So it's going to be hard if you can't push the d pawn. So we see g4 preventing knight f5. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other games. Oh my goodness. Grande here. Alexander Elliott. 5:08 compared to 1 minute here. So Hamlet, this is the board 4 matchup. Neither player has won yet, but Hamlet has not gotten on the board. 2190. And that's part of why these teams are in the same division. You know, you look at Sargas is like 3,000 rated. But Nicholas is only 2,800. It's not that far behind. But because your top board is so strong, your bottom board's kind of averaged out. So this is Division 3. So far this season, we've only been watching Division 1. And in Division 1, it's like every player has to be just totally incredibly talented at chess. Most of them are grandmasters. Most of them are going to be at that like 3,000 level. In fact, I think 2 of the team averages are actually above 3,000 rating, which is ridiculous. Yeah, here the board 4 for Armenia, 2190. Not that that's like weak, but it's lower compared to obviously some of the teammates. And it's just kind of tough if your team has a player that's not getting any points in the match. That being said, this position's still relatively close, relatively even. It's just the time disparity is just so incredibly massive. It's practically 5 minutes to less than 30 seconds. You're going to have to live off the increment. It's going to be ridiculously difficult to play like this. So best of luck to Hamlet here, the Armenian board 4, playing with less than 15 seconds now. And the advantage is going to mount. I mean, Alexander is up not only on the clock, but also in material, technically up a pawn. That being said, I mean, a pawn is not that significant. So it's not going to be easy to convert this. But I mean, it's going to be more difficult to play with 12 seconds, I think is the point. So, okay. Yeah, queen gets kicked back. Lots of pressure on c4. Not easy to save this pawn, to be honest. Yeah, maybe Hamlet can do it. I mean, best case scenario, they get the pawn back and it's back to even. But yeah, Alexander can't just, you know, hope that they just blunder on time, right? Like, you should use that extra time advantage to play well in the position. But they've been trying to keep black playing fast, but they've been slipping, which is good for Armenia. So we'll keep an eye on that game. But I'm going to also take us to look at some of the other games. Yeah, these pawns are doubled, isolated. They're going to be falling as well. Black's actually making a comeback here. So don't sleep on Hamlet. Hamlet's actually going to be from down a pawn to probably winning a pawn if white can't find some good moves. So Yeah, there goes one and a second and probably a third. This is getting worse and worse for white every single move. So, and similarly, Alexander's the board for Rice. Like they haven't been doing much better, only a draw so far in this match, and they might even lose this after being up so much time. So, okay, but it's like Hamlet's got less than 10 seconds. This is all crazy stuff. And yeah, black didn't take the pawn here. What's going on exactly? Queen here, and I want like rook here, and I want my white to just mate. Okay, let's take a look back at the top boards. Nicholas down to 10 seconds to 340. This is like ridiculous. It's the opposite situation, but for the top boards. So Armenia, they've got no time on board 4. Rice, they have no time on board 1. And then the other boards are relatively even. Sargas is pulling away here with the white pieces. Bishop here is a great move. Just centralizing the bishop. This knight is going to be hopping in soon. We see one trade. That's a free pawn there. White says, thank you very much. We can trade bishops, bring the knight in with check. No, we can keep the bishops on. Whenever your opponent is in time pressure, declining trades is really helpful. Keeping the opponent on the clock, on that pressure, is really difficult to deal with. Rook here, beautiful move. Taking the d file away from the rook. Okay, we can give a check. Actually, what? Our pieces are for? We got to save our bishop. So probably f3 makes sense to me. Or just saving the bishop also is logical. Knight here boxes out the rook's defense of the knight. So we see knight takes bishop. Bishop here. Computer likes rook d1. Let's check out the... Okay, the other games have ended, so we have some results. Savatier ties it up against Edward of all players. So Edward was a perfect 3 for 3, but not anymore against the board 3 from Rice. And we have Rohith and Aram getting a draw. So these last two games, it all comes down to this. We could see overtime here. So the board 2s getting a draw each. It's tied up 7-7. Oh, and Sargas just beat Nicolina. So Sargas improves to 3.5. So only getting one draw, not losing. And it's all down to this. This is the last game. Armenia needs a draw to win. Rice needs a win to stay alive and force overtime. Oh, and that's a huge blunder. Rook takes. They just walked into mate. Oh my word. With 2 minutes to spare, I mean, Hamlet was playing. This is their only point of the match, and it's the only one that matters. It's the game-winning point, 9-7. Armenia, they hold on to their lead and they build onto it. So Rice, they were super close, but it was the top board and the bottom board getting the job done for Armenia in this last round. So very unfortunate for Rice. They were just about to come back, but Alexander here playing a little too fast. I mean, even this is a draw. If you just put the king down, it's still relatively even. But a draw is still good for Armenia because Sargas won against Nicholas. So congratulations to Team Armenia for getting the win there. And we'll go on a break before the next match, but stay tuned. We've got UCLA versus University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in Division 2. So, yeah, thanks to you guys for watching. I'll be right back. Like, I have a break scene, but I should probably just go to the intro. So I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'll see you all there. Hello, Lele. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everyone. My name's Joe. I am commentating for the Collegiate Chess League. It's the Spring 2026 season. Shout out to Lele. Everyone, please be sure to go follow her. She is from Georgia, very strong player. She's been beaten many strong players as well. Yeah, we're watching some university chess players. We just watched a team from Armenia beat Rice University in Texas by a score of 9-7. It was very close. And we have another match coming up very soon between two American schools, UCLA, which is where I went, versus UNC, which is University of North Carolina. And I guess I should also say what UCLA stands for, in case you don't know. UCLA is University of California, Los Angeles. What's up, Destrin? What's up, Christomir? Hello, Twisted. Welcome in, everyone. Yes, UNC, Unk, as they say. Actually, I don't know if anyone calls it that. Yeah, this is a Division 2 matchup. We usually are watching Division 1 games, but the Division 1 players and teams are a lot of them competing over the board this weekend here in St. Louis, actually, at St. Louis Masters, which I believe some of the players have been streaming and commentating. So if you guys know any of those results, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I'm setting up for this next match. They should be starting any minute. So let me just double check with them. All right. I have to update this scoreboard basically and get the players' names. Yeah, let me know if you guys are cheering for any team in particular. I'm obviously rooting for UCLA, my alma mater, which is where I went. Also, if you know other streamers like Rach Angel, or Blood Queen, Anushka, then maybe you'll root for UCLA as well, because that's also where they went. In fact, both of them played in the Collegiate Chess League. But they've both graduated, so they can't compete anymore, unfortunately. But we can all still root for UCLA. Unless you're a UNC fan, then maybe you want University of North Carolina to win. I don't know. Are there any UNC fans out there? Probably not, but maybe. What's up, Zach? Good to see you. Shout out to Zach Ainsley. Zach recently hit 2,000 rapid, I believe, which is truly incredible. You're closer to North Carolina, so you'll pull for them, Mr. Burns. You know what's funny? UNC's biggest rival is Duke, and they're pretty close geographically, but I'm sure Duke would probably never cheer for UNC. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, let me look at the... Oh, Zach with the prime. Let's go, dude. Huge. Very, very nice of you. I appreciate that. Shout out to Zach. I'm trying to set up this this scoreboard here. You'll see it. You'll see it, guys. I just had it for the other match. If you guys don't follow Zach, please be sure to do it. The dude's an absolute legend and a beast. He's a bodybuilder and chess player, which is very cool. All right, I have one team set up. I need the second team. So UCLA, they're still figuring out their lineup. So technically they have a couple more minutes before they need to submit, but the match is officially scheduled for 3:15 Eastern, which is 9 minutes. You're here to watch good chess. Awesome. These are Division 2 teams, so the Collegiate Chess League has set a record this year for number of schools competing. Essentially, I can explain the format a little bit more. So schools from all around the world can register teams of 4. You can register as many teams as you like, but your best players have to be on your top teams. So you cannot spread the players out evenly. They're listed by rating. And then we take the average of the top 4 players for every team to determine the team average rating. And then we sort all of the teams in the league by their average ratings, and then we split them into groups of divisions. So this season, we have 25 total divisions. The lowest division team average is around 700 blitz, chess.com. The top division is ranging from above 3,000 to above 2,800. So the weakest team in Division 1 is still over 2,800 average chess.com blitz between their top 4 players. Okay, we have the players checked in from UCLA, and I still haven't registered them on the scoreboard, but basically all of that to say is that even though we're not watching Division 1 this week, because those players are competing over the board, we're watching Division 2. Last match was Division 3. The Division 2 teams, their average is still above 2,700. So it's pretty good. Okay. I have the lineups. Let me just make sure I'm following these players. All right, we have games starting. Actually, this player is playing a warm-up 30-second game, so that's kind of funny. Oh my god, they're playing 30-second chess. Who's this guy? Should I just show you guys the 30-second chess that they're playing? This is Bullhouse, Candidate Master. As long as you can learn from them. I'm not even looking at this game. But Bullhouse, this is Bavik, board 3 from UCLA. You missed out your CCL match because you overslept. That's a free pawn. Or is it? Queen trade. Knight saves itself. This guy he's got no time. That's what happens when you play with 30-second chess game. Yeah, I mean, you just sack everything. It doesn't matter. 30-second chess. Is it still chess, you guys? Look, these guys are playing bullet now, too. It's not just Bavik. It's not just the UCLA team. It's the UNC team as well. They're playing bullet. Do they know? It's not chess. It's an abomination. No, I have no idea. Okay, well. Anyways, I liked d5. I thought d5 would have been good, but okay. King here threatens mate. Watch out. It's also helping the pawn push. This pawn's trying to push, but white's clearly much better. Pawn push. This rook cannot leave the f file. That's a free pawn. This is pretty resignable. There's a queen on the board. And now this pawn can push. New queen and ladder mate. Probably would have been a little faster to go this way, but this works just as good. Okay. Will they play the match now? I don't know. They're putting on a show beforehand, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, it's all good. All right, here we go. They're starting. We've got Don't Mess With Me Too. That is Shashwath Siva Kumar up against Noah. Noah Tomford Totes. So they're both titled players. Board 4 from UCLA is a FIDE master, so that's pretty good. We have another game here. This is Nguyen versus 2007 Checkmate. 2007 Checkmate, that's actually a freshman from UCLA, Vyam Vidyarthi. International Master top board from UCLA, 2847, up against Nguyen. Nathan Nguyen. We've got another game starting here. Naveen versus Train Your Dragon. So Naveen Prabhu, this is the board 2 from UNC. This is their team captain. And he's got the black pieces up against Train Your Dragon. That is Rishab, the board 3 from UCLA. And we have one last game that started. Oh, actually, I don't see it started yet, so I'll wait for that, I suppose. But the last game should be against Thomas and Bavik, who we were watching play some hyperbullet, some 30-second chess. So maybe they need to calm down from that. Mr. Memes, thank you so much for your bit. Appreciate that. Okay. Oh, and appreciating Gerber as well. Thank you. I too appreciate Gerber. Okay, let's check in with I think I kind of want to watch the UCLA top board. 2007 checkmate. I was about to ask if 2007. Actually, both of these players have the year 2007 in their username. You don't think that's the year they were born, right? Oh my god, you guys. That's the year they were born. They're 19 years old. They're like, yeah, they're college freshmen. That's ridiculous. I feel old. Anyways, yeah, I guess it's like 20 years ago, basically. Anyways, it's funny they both have 2007. I guess they're both 19. Anyways, we've got some college chess going on. And they're very strong players. 28-47 for Viam. Nguyen 25-46. Their fourth board is 2500. It's pretty good. Mr. Memes with another bit. Now I can say thank you for your 2 cents. You were born in 91, if that makes you feel better. Yeah, we need more 90s kids. I guess we're 90s adults now. Yeah, UCLA, their fourth board is 2554. So technically higher than UNC board 4. And yeah, the top board from UCLA also stronger than the top board from UNC. So it seems to me like UCLA is the favorite. Completely unbiased opinion here. Just based off facts and rating alone. But it is blitz, which means anything can happen. Mr. Memes, thanks for the follow. And Christomir wants the almond. During commentary here. All right. I'll get you an almond here, my friend. Thank you very much. That's all I've eaten today. Okay, I'm still not seeing the fourth player though. Or I shouldn't say fourth player. The fourth game. Is it Bullhouse? I mean, I've been following Bullhouse's Hybrid Bullet. Oh, speaking of which, look at what we've got here. The Speedy Bullhouse, 2800 Candidate Master, board 2 for UCLA. Up against Thomas Kung, up in lights, 2660, board 3 from UNC. Fisher with another almond? Okay. I don't know. There's got to be some sort of limit on these things, right? Maybe, perhaps. You guys are feeding me lunch, huh? Okay. How do you see your chat right now? Is that, I don't know. I'm just looking at the Twitch chat, I guess. I'm maybe missing some things. I don't know. But yeah, shout out to ChessCom community. Didn't get you guys in the shared chat, but I see Riviere lied, blessed me when I sneezed probably an hour ago. And we got Chess Dragon hanging out with some emotes. And that might be the last time I look at the community chat. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm streaming. I'm not like playing the games. I'm just commentating, which, you know, who knows if I'm doing a good job or not. I haven't been looking much at this chess, to be honest. But all right, looks like top board from UCLA is in a bit of a worse position here with the black pieces up against the UNC board 4. So looks like black is eyeing this potential outpost square on b3, hitting the rook, but that potentially will hang the c pawn. a4 just kind of takes a grip over b5. But black can still expand here on the queen side. But we'd be sort of helping out the rook. So we just see b6. Roar, thanks for the follow. Welcome in. We see g3. This is a flight square, just some space for the bishop as well to tuck back and fianchetto. But yeah, the clocks are dead even for these two players. Let's check in with the UNC top board and see how they're doing. So kind of a similar situation. It looks a bit better for white. In fact, here there's a tactic. Knight takes g6. And don't mess with me too finds it. Knight takes, the idea is if pawn takes, queen checkmate. So here the only move was king f7. The king had to get running, but they failed. They put the rook on f7. The knight was already defending this, but now the g pawn is pinned. So knight takes, black simply can't take back. So they bring the queen to g3, attacking the knight, but now the knight is just going on Pac-Man mode here. Knight takes e7, that's a fork. And if rook takes, there was queen takes knight. Here now, wow, just pawn push, opening up for the bishop, attacking the knight. There was queen takes with check, but oh my lord, look at this. With the knight that wasn't taken, not getting baited by the rook. Top board from UNC goes down to the bottom board from UCLA. UCLA starting off with a statement win from Shashwat. Board 4 getting the job done against board 1. Huge game from UCLA. Okay, so the knight does get to b3. Here we see Viam, international master from UCLA, trying to you know, you guys know what I'm talking about. No, Nguyen, board 4 from UNC. They're trying to do the same thing that UCLA just did. If the board 4 can beat the board 1, that's really a big advantage. What's up, White Noise? White Noise got them UCLA emotes. I was gonna say, you guys can learn about my my namesake, I guess, rooting for the Bruins. This really takes me back. I just I know I was sharing with White Noise on my own stream the other day about posting some old videos. Well, a vast majority of the old videos I posted recently were actually CCL commentary clips and highlights and just matches, basically. So I've been doing this since 2020. So it's been 6 years now. And I used to like watch as much UCLA chess as I could. And UCLA chess was extremely good. Right now they're in Division 2, but in the inaugural season, They were third place, only behind St. Louis University and Mizzou. So those two teams, they're still in the top division, D1. Here, this is a great move from white, attacking the knight, which is defending the pawn. So the king's going to step up and defend check, and we have a potential repetition here, which in the time scramble might not be too bad. So, okay, black says I'm going to play on, going to defend that knight. And honestly, major props to board one from UCLA. I think that's the right strat. If you're the favorite, you know, if you're the board one, if you're the 2800 international master, you probably have to be pushing for the win when you're up against Nguyen, who's the board 4 2500. But if you're Nguyen, you're going to push for the win because it's just in your nature. Both players, it's an absolute coin flip here. This is the last game of the match. Honestly, I didn't do a great job of looking at all the other ones, but Naveen won, captain from UNC, and Bullhouse won, board 2 from UCLA. So right now it's a 1-point lead for UCLA. This is still very even. It's looking to be a draw, but international master here, Viam, they are up a pawn, and they're going to look to convert. So they get a rook check. Oh, and it's a huge mistake. King goes straight back. Maybe they need to go to G2. I'm not sure. But now, look at this. This is going to be a second pawn. Probably check. Pawn push, maybe? No, king takes, rook takes. It's now just a 1-pawn advantage, but that looks like a very deadly pawn advantage. Rook over, looking for a check, forcing the king back. And now there's king here, pawn push. And maybe we build the bridge, the Lucina position, I believe it's called. Now the king's stepping out of the way of the pawn here. And now the rook is perfectly in place. If you check again, yeah, and white knows it. So just to play this out, check, king here, check, king here now, check, and now rook block. There's no stopping promotion. That's why the international master plays on. That extra experience and rating and just knowledge and skill, they're going to be able to play the in-game better than the opponent. So at some point, it was still even down a pawn. It was still a holdable draw with perfect play. But the thing is, when you have such little time on the clock, you're not going to be perfect. It's hard to be perfect. I've been told that nobody's perfect. But in that end game, Viam played perfectly. So he was able to convert, and that gives his team a 2-point lead going into round 2. They're up 3-1 right now against UNC. Hey, Austin, how's it going? Did you say you played chess for UCLA? I technically played chess for UCLA, yes, but not for the Collegiate Chess League, as it did not exist when I was a student. But we still formed teams and competed in other events, like U.S. Amateur Team West, for example. Although that's not a strictly collegiate event, we still competed against other colleges. And we also organized and hosted our own college events and attended some other college events in person. So in that regard, I did technically play for UCLA when I was a student back in the day. Okay, I like this this play here from Noah. H5, just really going after this castled king. Probably queen takes was also just totally perfectly fine. Yeah, now black is holding on to that G pawn. So this G pawn, it's going to be hard to defend. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of compensation. Just opening up the H file, now looking to trade dark square bishops, looking to castle offset on the queen side. These are some of my favorite positions in all of chess, just opposite side castles. It's an all-out attack, right? Pawns are getting thrown off left and right. They're not even being recaptured. It's all about the momentum. It's all about the initiative. It's all about opening up files, diagonals. Here, probably bishop back to e3, if I had to guess. The knight might even come to e2 here, but black has been playing pretty well. A lot of players, they would definitely get nervous once we see, and yeah, king here, rook is now open to come here. Rook e1 is pretty no-brainer, it feels like. Queen stepping in here opposite the king. This pawn is hit twice, only defended by the queen. The queen is a notorious, terrible defender. We might see the bishop coming back to defend, but really, white would love to trade off bishops because this is the main defender of the king. So we do see the bishop stepping in. Now, if bishop takes, the rook is potentially hanging. And if knight takes, we just trade the bishop. Maybe there's like knight here. Wow. So, okay, first and foremost, this move is actually a mistake. Black has the move queen f3, apparently. And that's just going after the rook, which is really strong move. Second off, it does like taking on d4. And I think g3 in combination with the bishop here is just really, really devastating attack. I think black gets a ton of compensation, especially like I don't think white would ever take the rook on f8. So black misplayed this. They just take on h5, which, you know, it's just taking back a pawn. Queen's defending this. But here the computer is now saying that white can hold on a little bit better with knight e2. And guess where that knight's going? g3, hitting both the queen and that h-pawn. So this pawn grab was not ideal for black, and they're going to have to deal with these consequences. Noah finds knight e2, and the knight on g3 is going to be really nice. So let's see what Train Your Dragon will do here. It's still relatively even position, but black is up 2 pawns. So whenever you see that difference between the eval and the material count, that's what we call compensation. So even if you're down 2 pawns, well, white has all the play going on right now. Knight here, rook takes, even knight takes, like bishop takes, knight takes, queen's coming in. This is a dream position for the white pieces. But black has a way to hold on, and maybe not holding on to the material, but at least holding on to the evaluation. But it's definitely easier said than done. Okay, one of the moves it's liking actually is queen takes h6, which to me is a little crazy. Bishop takes, inviting the queen in. But from there, black can try to go for a queen trade. And getting the queens off the board alleviates a ton of pressure if your king is this exposed. All right, let's take a look at some of these other games, shall we? We've got 4 games going on right now. Let's check in with Bullhouse. Bullhouse is Bavik, board 2, candidate master, starting off strong, 1-for-1. They warmed up with those Hyperbola games. This is another opposite side castles game. And look at this pawn, dark square bishop. Like, this bishop should never trade off for a knight. This knight's doing a good job just sort of existing here, taking away some of these squares from the rook. This rook can't really lift because this rook is hanging. And this rook can't really lift either. All of these squares are covered. So it's kind of this annoying little standoff here, because if this pawn pushes, we're dropping this knight. And if this bishop takes, pawn takes, this knight is just on an absolute outpost. You cannot kick that knight away ever. So this is quite the predicament. We see bishop stepping in here, making some sense to me at least. But yeah, maybe we want to like bring the rook off the e file even and concede and just try to. The problem is if you ever push g4, you're just getting shut down, I think. But maybe still though, because like this rook could lift. Okay, rook lift here, and yeah, black is looking pretty good. I was saying the bishop shouldn't trade for the knight, but at the same time, if the rooks can force the bishop out, okay. Here's another thing to consider. Even though this bishop looks super annoying, the king is getting out, and these files are not going to be taken advantage of by this rook. And lastly, something to consider, as I had pointed out earlier, is that this knight is not getting kicked out by anything, and this knight is free to roam the board as it pleases. So that's one big difference in these sort of endgames when you're comparing the value of minor pieces. Knights control both color complexes, both light squares and dark squares. Bishops, they only control one color at a time. So that's why it's so valuable to have the bishop pair. If you have both bishops, you control both colors. In this case, the knight comes back and black was able to win a pawn. So Nguyen is playing this masterfully here, using that minor piece imbalance to win a pawn. And the rook on the e-file had no entrance, no control whatsoever, and black was able to trade on their terms. And here white, okay, maybe gets one pawn, maybe a second pawn, but this is with check, and that's a second pawn for sure. So right now it's a one pawn advantage for black, but black also, they have the more active rook, I want to say. Rook here maybe was a waste of a turn because I don't think you want to take and allow this take. Okay, it didn't seem to matter too much, I guess. But yeah, the computer was really asking for e5. And I think part of that is that you want to keep the more distant pawns alive and intact, because the outside pawns are a lot more difficult to catch and to stop. Here, this pawn is kind of influencing the e-pawn. This pawn is enough to keep these pawns at bay. This pawn's going to push, but like this pawn's not really going to make it through. Yeah, black's trying to trade this rook off. Pawn push or king up makes more sense as well. Yeah, college chess, I think chess in general actually is heavily considered an esport, which is really cool. Okay, so yeah, we saw Viam, the international master, convert a rook and pawn endgame up a pawn, and Nguyen is doing the same exact thing that Viam did to them. Let's check in with Viam. So this is a time scramble here, less than 20 seconds for Thomas. So it is an imbalance. This is a, why didn't we just take? I guess we should take now. So yeah, it's bishop versus rook. So black is up in exchange, but there's a lot of pawns. So that's a 3-pawn advantage for one exchange. So usually 2-pawn imbalance is about even for an exchange, because an exchange is 2 points of material. But in this case, the extra pawns are actually even more valuable. The main problem, though, is that they're not connected. So this bishop can never push this king off the light square. That being said, this bishop's covering this pawn, which is really nice. And white can create another pass pawn. This is a 2-on-1 majority, and this also is a pass pawn. But the problem is maybe it's a little too weak. So yeah, bishop tucks back, so that's good. maybe the biggest problem is the time difference. So we'll see if Viam's able to push that through. That being said, Naveen has won. I need to watch Naveen's game next. I've been missing out. Naveen is 2-0 right now, and Noah also just got their first win. So they're on the board, and that's going to even things up for UNC. And let's see. This game looks like UNC might take the lead, but Vik is getting outplayed with that extra pawn there. So if the king goes here, for example, attacking the rook, black will obviously save the rook. No, black will push that d pawn. Who cares about the rook? Because you're making a new queen. And this is borderline resignable here. But Nguyen will win. So that's great news for UNC. Not so good news for UCLA. Now, Viam might pull this off with the extra pawns. Probably very unlikely. But, time scrambles, anything can happen. This rook is doing a great job. This king would love to just step up and get out of the way. So, yeah, this bishop trying to do something here. Going after that a pawn, I love it. Very smart maneuver here. Pawn check, maybe. No, bishop coming back. Bishop covering here. I think this pawn needs to push, no? Problem is maybe king here is annoying. Here, just trying to do something. I don't know. Rook up, threatening mate, actually. Bishop back, but this is going to lose a pawn. If Yam's not careful, you could lose this game. But yeah, very well played from Thomas. But yeah, if Yam loses this, UCLA actually risks getting swept in the second round here, which would be obviously not ideal. So UCLA went into this round leading 3-1. And look at this. I mean, black is really pushing back white. White is down to their second to last rank. But white's saying, hey, don't forget about my pawn. So here now bishop's able to protect. The king is boxing out the other king. Oh, can't take that. That's a nice little bait there, if you will. If rook took bishop, then the pawn would promote. So yeah, this is why it's going to be basically a stalemate. Although that being said, both sides are still trying to win, obviously. And black's doing a good job trying their best. Don't let the yeah. This king, they're being annoying to each other. They're trying for sure. Rook down threatens mate. King can step up. Ooh, check. Okay. Oh, bishop comes here now. Can't move the king. So what does that mean? You have to move the bishop or the pawn? Oh man, this is kind of ugly. So the 2-pawn advantage is completely gone, vanished. And now it's just straight up rook versus bishop. And I've seen this converted by grandmasters. Like, I'm pretty sure we've seen some swindles in like Title Tuesday, what have you. But yeah, I mean, look at the progress that's being made. Black has been making tremendous strides. Not only winning 2 connected pass pawns, but now putting the king on the back rank, I guess, is there just like you put the king in the corner and then just put the bishop? I feel like there's so many ways to lose this. Um, so it's a little scary. So king here is threatening the mate, right? King goes to the corner now, and now we have bishop g1 as a defense. So, okay. Here, now there's a check. Yeah, it's just a draw. But still, I mean, there's good reason to attempt. Yeah, and king going back also, like, it feels probably more natural to go to the middle of the board. But this, I think, will help with the chances of, like, repetition. Probably just get things going a little faster. Did f4 and rook sack on e6 work earlier? I'm not sure. Maybe. But okay, I missed. Okay, this is ridiculous. I must have jinxed Nguyen. I said Nguyen will win, but they messed it up. So check, check. Rook block, rook behind the pawn. Pawn push is a blunder. So here, they needed to play rook d4, and then from all of these checks, they needed to, like, put the king somewhere else, basically. They need to play, like, king... I don't know. They needed to run the king away. They blocked with the rook, and then they were worried about repetition, I guess. So, and also, major shout out to Bullhouse for playing king to e3 here. Because if you play king e2, you're losing to this check. So king e3 was the only drawing move. And yeah, able to get back that pawn imbalance. And yeah, they drew. So huge result. And in this game, they finally hit the 50 move rule. So that was a draw as well. So UCLA, from potentially losing that round majorly, like being down, they actually hold on to keeping it even there. So Bullhouse and Nguyen drew. And Viam and Thomas drew. So the match is tied up 4-4. So great round from UNC still, nonetheless. Tying things up. They were down by 2 after 2. Now they are, actually I meant down by 2 after 1 round. But after the second round, they've tied it back up. So they won that round by the same score that UCLA won the first round, by a score of 3-1. So that neutralizes a 2-point lead for UCLA. It's all tied up here, dead even at halftime. So round 3 now has begun. Those players were itching to play. They were watching that 50 move rule draw get played out. And now we're back to the races here. And here we've got Viam versus Naveen. So Naveen has been flawless so far, 2 for 2, taking down the bottom 2 boards from UCLA, and now they're up against their toughest opponent for today, the board 1 international master Viam from UCLA. And Viam's got the white pieces. So Viam had a draw in that previous round, a hard-fought one, down in exchange. But they had 3 pawns, so their opponent did a really good job getting those pawns back in that endgame and making sure that none of them were able to coordinate and push through for a passed pawn and to promote. Meanwhile, we've got the board 1 versus 2 matchup here between Noah and Bavik. So Bavik won that first round, but got a draw in that second round against Nguyen. Low Bandit, thanks for the follow. Hello and welcome in. We're watching some college chess. This is UCLA versus UNC Chapel Hill. The Tar Heels, I believe they're called. The rivals of Duke, I guess. Anyways, the rivals of UCLA, they didn't even register. How disappointing. But maybe not a surprise. They're playing over the board, so that's cool for them, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, UCLA and USC, they actually scheduled a bug house tournament that they're playing in against each other, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, this position, knight to c4, this is attacking that b pawn and the e pawn. And if we try to save that b pawn by pushing it, well, we're going to lose the e pawn still. But also, we're really weakening the c file. So our knight would no longer be defended. If the knight moves, the c pawn drops. But even if we try to defend the b pawn, that's just super passive, and they could take anyways because the knight drops anyways, and the c pawn's still hanging anyways. So here the best move is we want to just take on d5, and that's exactly what Bavik finds here. Just finding the active approach. We can take here with the bishop or with the rook, but the important thing is that we take back, obviously. There was another idea besides knight takes d5, and it was the move b4, hitting the rook. But yeah, black still has a very strong control over the c file. Bishop takes back, and now knight takes on b2, hitting the rook. Here, this is kind of interesting. Taking on b7 with attack on the rook back. Black can just take on d1, and then we will take on d8. Sorry, c8. And then there's this move, knight takes on f2. And this rook is forking our stuff. So that's exactly what Noah goes for. This is not looking great for Bavik. Both players are 2,800, but Noah is for choice here with the advantage. Yeah, I mean, all these pawns are really weak. You know what's also crazy is the computer's saying just play c4, give up the bishop, but we're gonna play king g2, and your rook's gonna be trapped anyways. Or sorry, not the rook, the knight. But still, it still likes black. And Bavik is low on time. I feel like the most natural move is probably something like bishop a6. But we're probably annoyed. Rook takes is just lining a lot of things up. So yeah, not an easy position to play at all. Okay, bishop here instead. Rook takes, attacking a2, lining up discoveries. Bishop here. Now there's knight g4 takes on e5. It's also just, I mean, that's a 2-pawn advantage here. So yeah, the bishop takes b7 move was not good. allowing knight takes on d1. Okay, so Noah's doing great here against Bavik. Let's check back in with Naveen. Naveen's been playing great, a flawless, perfect 2 for 2. Take care, Bala. Thanks for being here. Always good to see you. Yeah, White's king just kind of on the run, so this looks like a nice sequence for White, right? We take b5, we take but then we lose our knight, so Black gives up the bishop pair to damage the king's pawn structure, and that queen just dives in, check, check, and picks up that h-pawn. Queen takes here, and now queen d3 has to be played, defending the bishop. Rook couldn't take the bishop because the rook was hanging, so the rook comes over, hitting the queen. Queen now defends. This is still relatively even. It's just this king is so weak. This pawn is the advantage in material, but it's also weak. It's isolated. The rook is hitting it. This bishop is pinned. So, yeah, white needs to find something, but it's not super clear. Queen's re-centralizing, hitting the pawn. Rook lifts to defend. This is a very logical choice here. Black technically has a connected pass pawn over here. And white has doubled pawns. And this king is just so weak. So that's going to be the main thing here. And it's important to go to e1, actually. Any other move apparently was losing, which is kind of ridiculous. Queen f1. White's saying, let's please get the queens off the board. And just barely, rook check, we can block on c1, which is important. Any other block and we're losing. All right, and we have 2 results. I've been missing out all the results, basically. But this is resignation here. So that's a lot of pawns. Yeah, we were watching Noah basically cooking Bavik, winning some pawns. So Noah is going to build onto the lead. We missed Train Your Dragon, but they beat Nguyen. And Up in Lights beat Don't Mess With Me too. Very nice move here. Wow. Queen must have taken that. Yeah, queen takes, and there's back rank mate issues. Just up and knight as well at that point. So let me go ahead and put some scores on the board. It was tied 4-4. But Noah gets a win, improving to 2 out of 3. We have Up in Lights, that's Thomas, getting their first win of the match. So that's 2 points for UNC. And UCLA gets 1 back with Train Your Dragon, that is Rashab, getting their first point on the board. So UNC is up by 1. And right here, this is a close game. Both players less than 45 seconds on their clock. Naveen has been perfectly flawless so far. 2 for 2 out of 2, looking to improve to 3 out of 2. Black currently is better on the evaluation, but it is not so obvious why. White is up material. It's this king is so weak. There's no g-pawn, no h-pawn. The king is in the middle of the board. In fact, rook to b1 is the recommendation here. Naveen just goes for the draw. Couldn't find anything more. Now, if rook b1 check, if queen takes, now queen check is a skewer. So rook b1, the king would have to step up. And then we're getting another check here. You have to block with the pawn. Wait, hold on. What's going on in this game? So they just settled for a draw, right? But if rook b1 check, you'd have to block rook d1. If you step up, you're getting cooked. This is mate. f3, queen here is mate. So you would be forced to play And we already mentioned queen takes is not possible because queen check is a skewer. So rook d1 is the only move here. This is a nice test. You could trade a pair of rooks off and then see if you can try to grind down in that position. But Naveen took the draw, which is honestly pretty good against the top board international master from UCLA. And Naveen's still undefeated. And Naveen's team is up by 1 with that draw. So UNC, they go into the 4th round up by 1, feeling pretty good. UCLA, they need to bring it back if they are to at least force overtime, but they would also be able to win with 3 points in this match, which they did in the first round, but they've not been looking so good. They started off very strong, but unable to keep up with that pace. UNC's been looking really good since then. Hi, Dabo. I probably meant 2 out of 3 instead of 3 out of 2. I'm not sure what I said, to be honest. Hey, Tomas. Thanks for appreciating Gerbs. Okay. Wow. King on f2. That is certainly a move. Just making sure to unpin the knight. Probably we want to play e4, right? I don't know why we wouldn't have done it a move earlier. Probably bishop takes with check, but still, e4 looks great to me. Also, there's this move knight takes c4. So king f2 is very kind of oddball move here from don't mess with me too. So yeah, here just take on d4 now, right? I mean, that looks pretty good to me. But who am I? This bishop is hit. Yeah, I don't know why e4 was so scary the previous move. Like why white didn't just do that immediately, automatically, before even castling or getting rid of castling. This was not scary at all. Actually, this helps us defend our d pawn. So yeah, both players playing a little funky, a little slightly odd. But you know, that's blitz. So both players pretty even on rating, but this is looking good for white. Some missed opportunities there for black. Wow. Bishop takes, just absolute sacrifice. Pawn takes. White says, I'm going to accept that. Just don't step here and get forked. And probably you don't want to go here, I'd assume. So you have king to g1. Kind of a goofy looking move. King e3, not so good still, probably. I don't know. Just not really the proper home for the king there on e3. But yeah, interestingly enough, there's a lot of lines where king g1 just gets you mated immediately. But this is not one of those times. So yeah. Very, very big move here. From don't mess with me too. So yeah, well, Naveen did not go 3 out of 3, but they are undefeated. They're 2.5 out of 3, so they haven't lost yet. I'm waiting for. This is Sashwath. Sashwath's really looking into this one here. There are a handful of options. You can immediately rule out e2. So you have, yeah, king g1 was found and played. Now let's take a look at Naveen's game. Knight takes here makes sense to me. Knight takes c3. Wow, computer wants knight c3, followed with knight takes f7. There's like no way that white finds this, right? That's just ridiculous. Yeah, no. So, okay. Knight takes, if knight takes, queen takes, there's bishop check. rook falls to the, or rook takes knight. It's ridiculous move. And if king takes, there's queen f3 check fork. So that's also ridiculous. But Sashwa, being the human, plays queen g4. And the computer still likes white slightly. Black castles. Bishop here, just threatening checkmate in one singular move, so that's pretty nice. But I guess they missed this as a check. Pretty big one at that as well. Queen comes here defending mate. That's so naturally logical. That's what I probably would have done. So that was the first move that came to my mind. Just defend the mate, attack the bishop. But here, clearly bishop here is annoying. Can't take the knight because it's defended by the pawn. Can't go here because it's defended by the knight. Can't go back, obviously, because of the diagonal. So you're forced to go up the board, I guess. Queen f5. Otherwise, you're playing h5, which doesn't feel right. So we get a queen trade. And now either of these pawns are ripe for the picking. Probably you want to take the pawn that doesn't let them take your pawn. But what do I know? Taking with the bishop is developing a piece, and we're putting pressure on f7. We're actually preventing this fork, which I guess was the big threat. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, if d takes f6 fork, we get this check anyways. King h8. And then also, even with the fork, we can always bring the bishop back, attacking this piece here, and we can always play here, defending our piece again. Both our pieces, actually. But the computer really likes f7. Rook takes, bishop takes, and if knight takes, we get rook d1, skewering the rook in the back rank, which is really cool. Okay, let's look at the actual position here. Bishop takes, knight trade, then takes on c5. So bishop pair, looking pretty good for white. Okay, let's look at another game, shall we? Let's check in with Naveen. Naveen up against the Bull House, Bavik. So what's been going on here? A lot of pawn pushes near the king. Queen's coming in. Grabs the b pawn. Hit by the bishop. Queen steps up. The b pawn is completely hanging. And yeah, Bavik's looking pretty good here, I'd say. With, this is a connected pass pawn in the center. Rook takes is a really active rook on the second. Rook b6 is just another tempo on the queen. So bishop pair for black. Everything's pretty solid, just defending everything. So yeah, Naveen. Wait, sorry. This is Bavik. Yeah, Naveen has the white pieces. They haven't lost a game yet, but this could be their exception. Oh my goodness, this was an early quick game here for UNC, which is huge for them. Let's see this. This was, I guess, like a miniature. This is a French defense. And an all-out pawn storm attack on the king side. Opposite side castles. And yeah, black just gets that open H file. Rook lift, rook double, GG. Man, oh man. That is absolute brutality. It's so simple and so clean. Here, so this is the last moment that white had something. And it stems from bishop takes h5. Or even bishop e2 it likes. But here, now just g4. And you're getting cooked. So, rook lift, rook double, and resigns. That is not how you want to go out in round 4. So, huge point for UNC. Let's check in with the top boards. Thomas Kung up in lights, getting 2.5 out of 4. That brings UNC within 1 of winning the match. So, UCLA needs to win out, basically. They can afford only one draw. So here we've got the top boards. We've got Viam against Noah. Viam, International Master. Looks like they're up a piece for 2 pawns, and they're up on the clock. So that's looking good. Here we've got the bottom 2 boards, and this is looking great for Sashwath with the white pieces. So bishop pair, up a piece for 3 pawns, but these 3 pawns are completely isolated, very exposed. So the bishop pair is going to be dominant in this endgame. Also up on time as well. So that's also looking good for UCLA. And in this last board, this is also looking good for UCLA. So UCLA, they're down by 2, and they've got their backs against the wall, but they very well could win out here. UNC, they're within 1 of winning, but that could be all they get. So this could be a very exciting finish, but that depends on how clutch these players are. If the UCLA players can clutch, they can close it out and win the match. But if they choke, then UNC wins on any mistake. And any of these players that are looking for even just a draw for UNC would force overtime. And in the time scrambles, anything can happen. So it's all down to this. I don't think a single player has over a minute left on their clock. And this might be the closest game here. It's a bishop versus 2 pawns. Less than 10 seconds for Noah. Where to even look? Bavik is closing this out. Bishop takes. Maybe, I don't know. Or even bishop here just looks so good to me too. Also, the pawn is pushing. Bavik is going to close this out for sure, right? Bishop's hit. Queen's hit. Queen has to guard this guy. Bishop takes h4. Yeah. You can't take. Pawn's pushing, defended by the rook. Okay, Viam beat Noah. So that brings it back within 1. Check. That's 1 check. Knight's hitting both of these pieces. Queen could just come back here, right? Queen steps up instead. Threatening rook f1. 1 second left. Queen down. Pinning the queen. Knight takes. Rook pinning the queen now, and that's going to be game over. And on this game, oh my god, this was the one game we needed to watch. There was a huge blunder somewhere. Oh my word. So Naveen loses to Bavik, but lo and behold, this was the game. But on board 4s, Nguyen versus Sashwath. I thought Sashwath was just crushing with the bishop pair. But then something went wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Something terrible went wrong. Check, check, king here. Blunders a piece. So knight f2. So what you need is to come back up. Get checked. And you need to go... Wait, king e4, knight f2. I'm still reviewing this game, guys. Something went so horribly wrong. Rook takes pawn. Knight d3 check, obviously. King e4. Knight f2 check. King has to go to d5. you drop the piece, but then you get the bishop check. King is forced somewhere here, let's say. And now rook c7 check. If king here, we get this check. And yeah, this pawn is just rolling, right? So, man, that's crazy. So he blunders a piece here, basically. Like, when you take this pawn, this check just blunders a piece, but this pawn's also very valuable. This pawn's very, very strong and promoting. So it's okay to drop a piece, but you have to find the right way to do it. He went here, which just blunders the piece. He gets this check, but now he's losing a second piece. And that's a 2-point swing here. He pushes the pawn, but it's getting stopped. And he just threw. Oh my word. He blundered 2 pieces. And that's the game. So Nguyen clutches it with his first win of the match. UNC wins by the skin of their teeth, as they say. 8.5 to 7.5. All down to the wire there, those last 3 games. It looks like it was good for UCLA, but yeah, they just they couldn't get a win on those bottom 2 boards. It was Thomas and Nathan coming up big there in that last round, round 4. UNC wins. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is week 3 of the CCL. Thanks everyone for being here. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too. Nail biter match from UCLA. Unfortunately, not able to clutch it out, but it was the UNC Tar Heels from Chapel Hill showing up big in the moments where it mattered. They're board 4, clutching it up for their team and winning that match 8.5 to 7.5. So thanks everyone for being here. I will find another channel for you all to raid off to. So hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. I'll head out now. And yeah, thanks, Physic and everyone else. I'll see y'all later. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Stick around for the raid. And I'll see y'all later.